Good afternoon. How are you? Well, it's in the 40s. It's kind of chilly. It's cloudy, and it's been raining off and on all day, so everything is soggy. That's the Thomas Jefferson report for today. But the weather here is nothing as compared to Taiwan. The school I went to both Fordham and Columbia for a combined science engineering degree in both places. You get a BS from Fordham and you get an engineering degree from Columbia before I went to the Columbia Law School. And at Fordham, they had a seismograph. And it was in a little house. And you could go there and you could go downstairs and see how they were measuring the size of tremors and so forth. And but nothing like Taiwan's 7.4 quake that killed 9 and injured more than 1,000. Persons have been trapped in the buildings there, and we'll find out in the days ahead how many come out. And there were like 201 aftershocks. Pretty amazing. And there hadn't been any disturbance like this, any earthquake, for more than 25 years. So it's fascinating on a whole bunch of levels. Also, the tremors went straight up and down, causing some buildings to go into a tilt. And if I have a picture, I'll enclose that. So how does this happen? Well, if you've ever seen these pictures of the tectonic plates floating around and how entire sections of the world have reshaped over long periods of time, there's the Philippine tectonic plate, and then there is the Eurasian, and then there's a third one, the Sunda, I think it is, and these three can press up against each other. And what we're doing to the Earth, I would guess, and I was trying to find somebody who had the experience to say what their analysis of this was, and I couldn't, but I'm fascinated by it because I do think it relates to everything else. And though it's in Taiwan, the reach of these tectonic plates is amazing. In fact, they even have a name for it, the Ring of Fire, because of its reach in a ring around the globe. So when we're talking about weather, that's real weather. Sort of like that Australian line where it says, that's a knife, this is a knife, and then he holds up a huge knife. Dundee does. And so you think you had a tremor in California? Well, how about 7.4 in Taiwan? Now that's something. There are a couple of things that interest me. One thing is Judge Luce Cannon. The fact that she would seek to have jury instructions for a defense that is indefensible as a matter of law, strikes me as misconduct on the bench. And it seems to me that it's transparently true that this is a false defense and has only been cited by Trump, as you know, and forgive me for not saying it sooner. This is his, plunk your magic twanger, Froggy, and documents that were classified are now personal to Trump, and he can do anything he wants with them. That theory. And there's no support for that theory, not under the statutes that apply, not under common sense. And, just spend a moment thinking about the security questions and what we just went through with Pence and Biden, who did not make any effort to conceal what they had done, which is evidence of the fact that you knew and believed that it was wrong. And Trump is on a tape in New Jersey also talking about how he shouldn't be talking about these documents. White-collar crime, when I was a prosecutor, I always thought you don't catch the geniuses. But since Trump is a self-designated genius, well, there it is. Who knows? Now, a number of commentators have said, it's very difficult to move and get a judge removed. Now, it may be they've never had to do it or done it, but the irony is where this case is being tried in Florida is the principal place where I made my first and several motions for judges to remove. It was a criminal case, involved a doctor, and I came and appeared before the judge, and he wanted to talk to my client and ask her questions. And I said, "You're not going to do that." And he got all upset with me, and we had back and forth. I respected him. I didn't, my mom brought me up right, except when I embarrassed her. And then he finally said to me, "Are you jerking my chain?" I went, "Whoa." So I got the transcript to make sure I actually got this right in my mind. I thought, this judge is prejudiced. I can't go forward with him. Now, this was a state court proceeding, so it's somewhat different. And in the state court proceeding, there was a statute that allowed you to remove a judge. And the judge had to remove the first time, and couldn't do anything further. And that's what I did. Although the judge then tried to write an order to do what he may not do by the statute. And I called him on it. And I actually went through 3 judges in succession before a 4th judge who had done appellate matters. And I don't know, didn't dig in against me. And we actually had a constructive, we didn't always agree, obviously, but we had a constructive proceeding after that. Well, okay, so that's by way of background. It happens, it can be done. It's really not that complicated. And, my premise is you can't, with the arguments you don't make, going out in public and, grabbing your jewelry and, agonizing, just do it. Just do it. And so what exactly am I saying we should do? Well, Jack Smith is smart enough, and I don't know if people are sitting on his shoulder or he's calculating. I don't mean this in a bad way. He's taking the steps like you would in chess and deciding, if I do this, then I do that. Well, the truth is, it doesn't always work out the way you expect it will. So what I would do is I would move to remove the judge for malfeasance, misfeasance, nonfeasance, meaning that she knows that defense is frivolous. And she is engineering the trial in a way that she may be able to use that bogus set of jury charges to delay things, which is what Trump wants, and or to hold on to it until a jury has been seated and then dismiss the case, finding that this defense applies, and so the whole case should be dismissed. That's pretty outrageous, but I think you run the traps. Now, you could say it's a very visible case, more visible than the case I was talking about, which was in the local papers, but nothing like this. And I think that you seek to remove her because she is not doing her job, and that she is in fact manipulating. And some say, well, what's the evidence that she's partial? Well, we have the old evidence from the Court of Appeals that basically reprimanded her, and we have this and several other motions that are kicking around there. Now, it is true today that she dismissed the motion to dismiss by Trump based on this theory. But she got into it with Jack Smith that she wasn't going to be obliged to follow his schedule, which was do it, make the decision, and if it's the wrong decision, I'll appeal it, and if it's not, fine. And she pushed back against that. So I am not impressed with this judge, by the way. I know that comes as a surprise. Now, in another courtroom in Georgia, the judge there dismissed Trump's motion to dismiss the case because of immunity. Poof, gone. So that, you know, there's a little jostling toward the door that could result in a trial, and that's kind of exciting, I think, because that's what we need. We need to set these people straight. And New York, of course, is on track for April 15th. And one of the questions pending is, will the court act upon Trump's violation of the most recent edited gag order? And I don't know, but he may be gaming it and figuring out what he can do. And he doesn't want to be suckered into a fight, but Trump plainly keeps bringing it to him. And if you're not going to engage in that, then you don't write gag orders either. You know, it's one way or the other. So you revise a gag order and then you don't do anything. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So, what's my analysis today? Well, it's chilly, and it's wet, but it's nice otherwise. What's going on in the courts is something we can handle. What's going on in the Middle East is more difficult. I know Biden has said that he's going to act accordingly with Netanyahu about these volunteers, really, who were there to help and ended up dead. Holly is home, and we have standing orders to do things to see if we can keep contained and dissipate anything that may be challenging her to cause either infections or rejection. And there is a science to this, but there's a large unpredictability too. There's so many variables. But as caretaker, I'm an amateur nurse, and I dispense the medication. But it's, Holly and I sit and talk about it as well, because there are always these side effects, which is the worst part of these medications. So where do we stand? She's home, she's better, and until we play out all the different drugs over 10 days or more, we won't know if we have an all clear sign or if we have to do more to have an all clear sign. So for example, when you do an analysis of the lungs, a bronchoscopy, and you go in and you take samples, you then analyze those samples, and one of them came up with some questions that we've been working through and that she's taking medication for. Now, there's a lavage, which means that the liquid and so forth comes up, and then they examine that. So in a sense, you can find things in that, but they're not in the lungs, and so that requires a different medical reaction. No, I'm not an expert. Don't listen to me for anything. So I wish you well from my Cathedral of Trees. I had a lot of writing to do today, and I have more to do tomorrow. And I won't be out while it's raining. I might be, but we'll see. All the best. Goodbye from the Cathedral of Trees. Bye-bye.